Hello, and welcome to season 3, episode 13 of Quaint and Cozy KC. This is actually take two because my delivery came early, and I was like, "Oh wow, I'm in the middle of recording this podcast," and I get the alert, "Oh, your delivery's on its way." I was like, "Wait, what?" So I thought I had a little bit more time, but here I am now. I've got all the time in the world to talk to you today about the Mission Market, and that is located in Mission, Kansas. It's a farmer's market there. We're going to talk about the Watkins Museum of History in Lawrence, Kansas. Then we're going to talk about Cafe Equinox, and not a long thing about that, more of a glimpse of that. I got to go back. And then we're going to talk about my time at Smithville Lake at Camp Branch, and then another little glimpse into Paradise, Missouri. Just a little baby glimpse. Okay, let's start off strong with the Mission Market located in Mission, Kansas. That is their farmer's market, and it is on every Thursday night, right? Through the season. Okay. And so from here on to I think through September, we will have the Mission Market on Thursday nights. And I used to live in Mission, as I talk about a lot. And it's the first place I lived in Kansas City. And I moved there like 2012. And there was no farmers market there. The farmers market came a little bit later, and it was on Saturdays, and it was competing with the city market, and it was competing with Overland Park and Olathe, like all the things. And so, we get like more people, showing up, but it just wasn't, it wasn't compared to the other big ones, just wasn't a lot. Like people would come and try to support and walk through and all that, but I'm glad that they moved it to Thursday, right? Because there's so many great farmers markets going on throughout the city on Saturdays. I love how some of these places have decided, you know what? We're not going to do Saturdays, right? We are going to do Wednesdays and Thursdays. We're going to do it that way, and just kind of like, split everything up a little bit more. Makes it so much easier. That way, if you're like me, I'm a farmer's market diva. I don't have to run like all over the city to hit up my favorite markets. I can just like maybe do one and then two. So when the Gladstone Farmers Market, which is on a pause, was here, I would start off at Gladstone, and then I would go to the historic downtown Liberty Farmers Market, which is like Overland Park, more of an experience. The Mission Market now has become the experience, right? It's a great place to be on Thursdays. And so a couple years ago, with my other podcast, Aunt Lena's Kitchen, I actually interviewed the Mission Market, the then Mission Market manager. There is now a new one. So I talked to her. I got to meet her, and I said, why don't I like let you get your feet wet, get all your stuff going on, and then I'll interview you maybe like at the end of the season and see, hey, how did this first run go? So I'm excited for that. And then I really I can remember, like I said, it just wasn't a lot of people on the Saturdays, and then on Thursdays, it was growing, and now they are shutting like the streets down, like they've got the streets shut down. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So that made me really happy to see, and I actually had to park a couple blocks away in order to kind of get down there, and I was like, that made me really happy too. And they had music, and they had a lot of vendors, and it was really kid friendly, and they had people really listening to the music. They were really there to unwind and shop and have fun, and I just saw lots of families and friends meeting up, and just the vibes were immaculate. So definitely a place you want to be on Thursday nights. I live kind of I'm on the north land, yeah, north of the river. So it's actually Mission's not that far away from me, but at the same time, getting through traffic, all that stuff. I don't know how many more times I'll be able to hit up Thursday, especially when there are other farmers markets throughout the city. Because I always hit the Saturday ones up, but I'm trying to kind of get the mid-week ones. So Smithville, I missed it tonight, but I will. That's on my list. That's like the next one I'm going to go to. Then I think there's a midweek one in Raytown, and there's a couple other midweek ones that I want to kind of catch. A lot of times they're from like 4 to 7 or 4 to 8, so it's a little bit challenging because by the time I'm going to get there, it's going to be like 6:15. I get out of work, and then even if I go straight there, I've got traffic to contend with, especially if there's any kind of like athletic event or major concert or something going on. Okay, next up, let's talk about the Watkins Museum of History, Lawrence, Kansas. First of all, this is in downtown Lawrence, Kansas. I love this place. It is gorgeous. It's simply a gorgeous, the architecture. Y'all know how I feel about architecture. The architecture is beautiful. And it's got like this mix of old, like it's got all the old like architectural things with a few modern touches. But I really appreciated how they're really telling the story of Lawrence. And and it's this complicated kind of, at sad at the same time triumphant story. So that was good. And it's a kind of like walk around, look at the exhibits, and they're beautiful. And I did actually take pictures. I did post them to I think this is on the Tickety Tockety. I think I did possibly a reel on Instagram, and I also posted them on my Quaint and Cozy KC Facebook page. But just again, this is the kind of museum, and the air conditioning. Because I went on a 90-degree day. The air conditioning is amazing. So, and it's probably like it's 3 floors. Now, the bottom floor, the basement is more of a meeting hall, but there's some art in there to look at. But it's really the second floor and the third floor's got a lot of the exhibits, and the staircase is beautiful, but they also have elevators. And the air conditioning, like I said before, is great. It's got nice air conditioning because sometimes, in those old buildings, it's hard to keep them cool because they're old. So you get more of a fan thing and you're just trying not to pass out. But I loved it. It just felt like being in this majestic old building. And I was kind of exploring through. Now they also have a courtyard as well, and just beautiful, like beautiful flowers and everything. So that's just kind of like I was like, oh wow, this courtyard is really pretty. So I took a couple of pictures of that. And so yeah, definitely would check that out. A great place to do. So they're open at 10 a.m. And I was there on a Friday because I had that Friday off. And so if it were me and I was like, oh man, and I know they're open on Saturdays as well, I would do the breakfast. I went to the breakfast at the Roost, which I'll talk about on my Aunt Lainey's Kitchen podcast. I went to breakfast at the Roost. And then, my friend's little brother, I call him Little Brother Joe, he had to catch his bus. So he was there on a bus layover. And so, so he was there for a couple hours. So I took him to breakfast and then, hung out, walked around a little bit. And then I had to take him back to the bus station so he could pick up his bus to Salina because he was doing a barbershop some kind of barbershop work, like I don't want to call it a workshop, but some kind of barbershop contest, the barbershop people. And I used to actually sing barbershop back in the day. So he had that going on, and he was on his way to Salina from Lawrence. And so then I was like, okay, cool. It was I came back to downtown because I had to go out to the Greyhound, the transportation center, which is closer to the college, was kind of out there. And so I parked my car, and it was hot, y'all. It was really hot. And I walked to like maybe half a block down to the museum. And this is the kind of place where you go have breakfast, right? Get that breakfast in on a Friday, and then you go and hit that museum, or do lunch and then, maybe go to the museum first and then do lunch or something like that. And if it's not too hot, that's why I say do it in the morning, but like closer to the morning. But Lawrence, downtown Lawrence is super cute. So many old buildings to take pictures of, so many just like bookstore, like it's a couple bookstores. Like it's just got this nice little vibe. And I really feel like it hits its peak between like 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Just really, but again, as the weather gets hotter, it can be a little bit more difficult to navigate if you're just kind of walking. But again, it's the kind of place that you might have to go to a couple times to really appreciate it if you're on a limited schedule. And that's the good news about when you live close to something and you've got, consistent transportation, then it's easier for you to go, or maybe you carpool, whatever, to see these things. You don't have to rush everything. And and then because that day, that was on a Friday, I actually had a party to go to, and I'd done all this baking the night before. So then I, came home and I had to get ready for that party. And, I rested a little bit. Then I had to get ready for that party. And so, I was like, oh, wow. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff today. And then, so yeah, that's kind of like, but I'm like, okay, I couldn't stay in Lawrence as long as I wanted to, but there's another part of the city I can go explore. So just again, something to think about, if you've got that transportation, that consistent transportation, that really does help. Okay, then let's talk about Cafe Equinox. This concept is amazing to me. I went to the one in Shawnee, Kansas, and it was so cute. It was like a coffee shop with like a plant store kind of curio kind of thing. And I wanted to be able to, like, I met up with a friend. I wanted to be able to just really walk around and go slow and leisurely. But again, that weekend, my schedule was just so tight. Everything was just so like stack, stack, stack. And so I met up with a friend for like an hour, 15 minutes, and then I had to run to Somerset Winery, which I talked about in the previous episode. And so I didn't have like a lot of time. So I was like, because I knew if I started walking around, I was going to miss out on the Somerset Winery because I'd be so enthralled. So I put a pin in that. I'm like, I got to come back here again and really check it out, really walk around and see what it's about. Okay. Now let's talk about Smithville Lake. I had a really good friend have a birthday. There's a couple birthdays in our friend group. And so, they wanted to go to Smithville Lake. And so we went to Smithville Lake Camp Branch. This is my second time going to Smithville Lake. Again, I feel like I went there when I was very, very young, but as an adult, remembering this is my second time. And it's super cute over there. I forgot how cute it was. We had a nice little camp space. We got there early. And we didn't care. We were just kind of there for like, part of the day. And so then, I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't get into the lake, but I helped kind of set up the food table and I took pictures. There's so many, and I did post those on my Quaint and Cozy KC Facebook. And I think I also put them on my Instagram, Quaint and Cozy KC Instagram. So many really great pictures of that lake and so many angles. And I mean, it was hot though, gal. It was hot, but I was able to like kind of, drink a little water and yeah, take like 4 or 5 pictures and then maybe sit back down. But it was definitely worth it. Really beautiful lake. And I like Camp Branch, plenty of parking, all of that. And I definitely will try to go back again this summer. Now, Paradise, Missouri. So on my way to Camp Branch, I passed Paradise, Missouri, and that's where Captain's Corner is. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, I think they update a lot. And I was supposed to go there a few years ago, but like during heavy COVID. And then I went to some work of it wasn't a work event, but it was some kind of professional networking thing. And people got I was exposed to someone with COVID, so I didn't want to risk it. So I just kind of had to quarantine and I didn't have it, thank goodness. So I missed out on that birthday celebration. And I was like, okay, I gotta go back. And then I kept forgetting. And then I was like, where's it at again? And so I found my way there. And it's in Paradise, Missouri, which is like this unincorporated part. And it's kind of like between Smithville and Kansas City. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. It's this cute little, like the gas station that's like kind of like a general store, like a restaurant. It's all the things. It's super cute. And there's an ice cream shop nearby. And I snapped a couple of pictures, but I was on my way to that birthday and I had to set up so I couldn't like just wander around like I wanted to. But that's definitely on my list of things to do. I feel like it'd be a really cool place to go visit, like maybe early September. Definitely want to keep a lookout on that because I feel like it would be a lot of fun. Okay, and then let's see what else. Okay, so then after that, I've got everything kind of like I'm like, oh look, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And I'm also, as I said in my last episode about the theater companies and the live music and the new quest that I'm going on, I'm finding that, there's life outside of Facebook when it comes to events. I'm on Eventbrite, so that's a really good place. And I knew that from before, but you forget, I get kind of caught up in Facebook world because that's how a lot of my friends, because we are cringe Gen Xer people and elder millennials, a lot of them, that's kind of how they do their invitations these days. And so I'm like, oh wow, but you can actually do like an Eventbrite event. I'm like looking through and I'm discovering new events that way. But July is definitely going to be super busy and August is probably going to be really busy too. And I was talking to my sister about this. It's like I don't set out to have these triple events on Saturdays and Sundays. It just kind of eases that way. And I know, and again, because I live in a place that has a winter. And so when it's cold outside and you can't drive anywhere because you're snowed in, you start making plans. You're like, okay, when the weather warms up, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. So this past year, I actually looked at my list and I've been working that list. It hasn't been like, oh yeah, didn't I say I was going to do this? No, I've got my list. I'm ready to go. And that's kind of what the quaint and cozy lifestyle, I guess, is all about. one of the things I've been doing too, now this isn't necessarily a comfort show, but what I've been doing is I've been going through, like I'm on Libby and Hoopla through the library. I've been going through and seeing, I've been doing kind of like, internet searches because I'm trying to find a new cozy, like a new cozy author to follow. And what I'm noticing for all you book nerds out here, um, what I'm noticing, this is like my latest quest, is that there's a lot of these audiobooks that are a lot shorter, these ebooks that are like more novellas than anything. Um, and so now, right now, what I'm listening to on Hoopla is it's like a cozy mystery about a food truck owner who finds herself entangled in a mystery, and it's by Rosie A. Point. And I think I want to make sure I get the protagonist's name right. I think her name is Ruby. And so I'm like, oh wow, okay. And so far, like the audiobook is like maybe 2 hours long, like 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I'm like almost an hour into it. Maybe it's like 2 hours and 30 minutes. I'm almost an hour into it. I'm like, oh wow, this is going by fast. And I'm like, this is perfect for again, when I'm driving to these places, some of them are 45 minutes away. That's one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to do more audiobooks because I have my podcast that I listen to every week. Then I have podcasts. What I do is I wait until three or four are stored up and then I kind of binge listen to them. I am that person. And so I'm like, oh, wait, if I keep doing that, I'm not going to have anything in my binge kind of, coffer. I got to make sure I got, a couple of these to binge at any moment. I might have to do some kind of housework thing. And then I'm running out of podcasts because when I'm doing like major housework, I like to listen to familiar things because if they're not familiar, then I'm like, oh, I got to sit down and really listen to this. But if it's, somebody that I always listen to, then I'm like, okay, cool. I can just kind of do the work and not be distracted by the actual podcast. I can kind of go into zombie mode a little bit. So that's always good. But yes, that's my comfort, my new KC quest or my comfort quest, whatever you want to call it. Cozy mysteries, the audiobooks, like just finding somebody new, which is important. You got to always and I like to listen to it because sometimes what I used to do is like, oh, they have like four or five on here. I'll just borrow all of them and then and then I'll listen to them through. But it's like, you almost have to like listen to the first. You want to see that they have at least three or four, and then you listen to it, you're like, okay, I can deal with this. So then, you get the other one. That way you're not like sitting there going, why did I waste? And Hoopla only gives you like seven a month. So you got to make sure that you got everything together on that. You don't want to be wasting those borrows on something that you don't like. Okay. On that note, you guys can find me at Quaint and Cozy KC and .com, and then Quaint and Cozy Casey Facebook, Quaint and Cozy Casey Instagram, Quaint and Cozy Casey on the tickety tockety. And yeah, I'm out and about. You'll see me around farmers markets. I think the next one I'm gonna go to is the Kearney one. That's what I'm looking at because that's pretty, it's up north. So I'm looking at Kearney. I'm looking at, I think Weston has one. I haven't been to that one. And then St. Joe has one. So I'm looking at that. And of course, then I will swing on back down. Oh, and then Richmond, Missouri. Then I'm going to swing back down to the Kansas side, probably closer to August, but we'll see how my schedule goes. But it might be closer to August when I go to the Kansas side of, the farmers markets. And then I'll be taking trips to Columbia, Missouri and Herman, Missouri. And yeah, just really, and then I'll have to then I'll be probably by then we'll be kind of into the fall. So then I'll be trying to figure out, okay, now where do I go next? Because there's actually things in town. Like I haven't been to the Kaufman Memorial. I don't think so. I don't think I've been there. And so that's on my list because, everyone talks about how beautiful it is there. So I definitely want to do that. And of course, I'll be hitting up my museums and my live performances whenever possible. I try to do that. And, just all these cool, like iconic places that I have not been to in Kansas City yet. And on that note, you guys take care and I will talk to you soon.